In 2010, Honda did the unthinkable. They built a chopper, a real one, from a factory that actually worked. The Fury had the looks of rebellion, long, low, loud, but none of the chaos. It didn't leak oil, it didn't vibrate your bones loose, and it started every single time. And for that, it was hated. Hit that like button and subscribe, because today we're breaking down the story of how Honda built the world's most hated motorcycle by doing everything right. To understand the Honda Fury controversy, you need to know about a type of motorcycle called a chopper. Think of choppers as the hot rods of the motorcycle world. A traditional chopper starts life as a regular motorcycle, then gets completely torn apart and rebuilt. The frame gets stretched longer for a dramatic look. The handlebars go sky high. The seat drops low. Often the rear suspension gets removed entirely, creating a bone-jarring ride that looks incredible but feels like riding a mechanical torture device. These machines are built one at a time in garages and custom shops by craftsmen who prioritize artistic vision over creature comforts. They leak oil, vibrate violently, and sometimes refuse to start. But when they work, they're rolling sculptures that announce to the world, "I am not like everyone else." The chopper scene had exploded into mainstream consciousness thanks to television shows like American Chopper and Monster Garage. Suddenly, every suburban dad dreamed of owning a machine that looked like it belonged in a biker movie. But the reality of chopper ownership was harsh. These bikes required constant attention, mechanical knowledge, and a tolerance for being stranded when something inevitably broke. By 2005, Honda executives in Japan were watching this custom chopper scene with fascination and frustration. American riders were paying $50,000 for motorcycles that, from Honda's engineering perspective, were glorified disasters. The numbers told a confusing story. While Honda's perfectly engineered cruisers, motorcycles that started every time, ran smoothly, and could go 100,000 miles without major repairs, sat gathering dust on dealer floors, custom shops had waiting lists months long for bikes that might not even run properly. Honda's market research revealed something that baffled their engineers. American motorcycle buyers were actively choosing dysfunction over reliability. They were paying premium prices for bikes that broke down regularly, required constant maintenance, and offered riding experiences that ranged from uncomfortable to genuinely painful. The discomfort was cultural, not rational. Honda built motorcycles that solved problems: unreliable starting, mechanical breakdowns, uncomfortable riding positions, excessive vibration, poor fuel economy. Every Honda motorcycle was designed to be better than what came before it. But chopper enthusiasts didn't see these as problems to solve. They saw them as character features that separated real bikes from casual riders. The vibration meant you could feel every explosion in the engine. The unreliable starting meant you understood your machine intimately. The discomfort meant you were tough enough to handle real motorcycles. From Honda's perspective, this made no sense. Why would anyone choose a motorcycle that broke down over one that didn't? Why would comfort be seen as a weakness rather than an improvement? Why would reliable starting be considered less authentic than kickstarting a temperamental engine? But the market spoke clearly. Americans wanted their motorcycles to have personality, even if that personality was difficult to live with. Honda's solution seemed logical. Combine their legendary reliability with the dramatic looks that American riders craved. Build a chopper factory that looked like rebellion but worked like a Honda. Give customers the aesthetic they wanted without the mechanical headaches they seemed to think they needed. What they didn't realize was that trying to mass-produce authenticity might be impossible. The early 2000s represented the peak of chopper mania in American culture. Television shows featuring custom bike builders had turned motorcycle construction into primetime entertainment, and the impact on the motorcycle industry was profound. American Chopper, which premiered in 2003, followed the Tootle family as they built increasingly outrageous custom motorcycles while engaging in explosive family drama. The show didn't just showcase the finished bikes, it pulled back the curtain on the entire custom building process, from initial concept to final assembly. Viewers watched builders cut apart perfectly good motorcycles and rebuild them into machines that prioritized visual impact over practical considerations. They saw craftsmen work with basic tools in cluttered garages, solving problems through creativity and persistence rather than computer-aided design and quality control systems. The appeal was visceral. In an increasingly digital world, here were people working with their hands to create unique machines that expressed individual vision. Every custom chopper was different because every builder had different skills, different aesthetic preferences, and different ideas about what looked cool. The television chopper boom created a massive demand for custom motorcycles, but it also created unrealistic expectations about what these machines could do. Television choppers were built primarily for show. They looked spectacular, rolling slowly through carefully choreographed scenes, but many were impractical or uncomfortable for actual riding. This created a market opportunity that Honda's executives couldn't ignore. Thousands of viewers were calling motorcycle dealers asking about choppers, but most custom builders had long waiting lists and price tags that put their creations out of reach for average buyers. Honda saw an opportunity to democratize the chopper experience. Instead of waiting months for a custom builder to complete a bike that might cost more than a luxury car, customers could walk into any Honda dealer and ride away on a factory chopper the same day. The strategy seemed brilliant. Use Honda's manufacturing efficiency and quality control to deliver the chopper aesthetic at a fraction of the time and cost of custom builds. It was the automotive equivalent of fast fashion, bringing high-end design to the masses through efficient production. But Honda's executives failed to understand that exclusivity and difficulty were central to chopper culture's appeal. The long waiting lists, high prices, and mechanical challenges weren't obstacles to overcome. They were barriers that kept the culture authentic by limiting membership to people who were truly committed. While Honda's engineers were designing their perfect factory chopper, the custom motorcycle industry was facing an existential crisis that would ultimately make the Fury controversy seem minor by comparison. By 2007, insurance companies had begun to notice a disturbing pattern in motorcycle accident claims. Chopper-style motorcycles were involved in a disproportionate number of serious accidents, and the costs were staggering. The problem wasn't just frequency, it was severity. When traditional motorcycles crashed, the results were often manageable. Road rash, broken bones, damaged plastic fairings. When choppers crashed, the results were catastrophic. The stretched frames and rigid suspension systems that created the distinctive chopper aesthetic also created dangerous handling characteristics. The long wheelbase made choppers unstable in emergency maneuvers. The lack of rear suspension meant that hitting even small road irregularities could send the bike out of control. Worse, the aggressive riding positions that looked so cool in photographs created rider fatigue that contributed to the accidents. After an hour on a traditional chopper, many riders experienced numbness in their hands, aching backs, and reduced reaction times. Insurance actuaries began building mathematical models that painted a grim picture. Chopper riders were filing claims at nearly double the rate of other motorcycle riders, and the average claim amount was 3 times higher. Companies responded by dramatically increasing premiums for chopper-style motorcycles. Some insurers began refusing to write policies entirely for bikes with certain modifications or aesthetic characteristics. This created a cascade effect that threatened the entire custom motorcycle industry. Riders couldn't get insurance for their expensive customs. Dealers couldn't finance uninsurable motorcycles. Custom builders found their multi-million-dollar businesses facing an uncertain future. The insurance crisis was forcing the chopper community to confront an uncomfortable truth. The design choices that made their motorcycles visually striking also made them statistically dangerous. Enter Honda's Fury, a factory chopper engineered with modern safety standards, designed to pass crash tests, and eligible for standard motorcycle insurance at conventional rates. To the insurance industry, the Fury represented salvation. Finally, a chopper-style motorcycle that wouldn't bankrupt them with claims. To custom builders, it represented something else entirely. Validation that their hand-built machines were being replaced by corporate alternatives that eliminated both the artistic achievement and the rebellious risk that defined chopper culture. The Fury wasn't just competing with custom choppers for customers, it was potentially making custom choppers financially impossible to own. Honda's team faced a contradiction that would define the entire Fury project. How do you build a rebel motorcycle on an assembly line? Real choppers are hand-built, one at a time, by individuals who make compromises between form and function. Each builder has different skills, different tools, and different ideas about what looks good. This means every real chopper is unique, sometimes beautifully so, sometimes disastrously so. Honda builds motorcycles using computer simulations, quality control systems, and assembly line precision. Every component is tested. Every specification is optimized, and every bike that rolls off the production line is identical to the last one. The engineering team assigned to create the Fury, Honda's first factory chopper, had to solve problems that custom builders accepted as part of the experience. For example, real choppers often have terrible weight distribution because form takes priority over function. The result is motorcycles that handle unpredictably and require skilled riders to manage safely. Honda couldn't build a motorcycle with handling problems. It violated everything in their corporate DNA. So they used computer modeling to optimize the weight distribution, frame geometry, and suspension settings for predictable, safe handling. Real choppers often have rough engine vibrations because their stretched frames and rigid mounting systems amplify every mechanical tremor. Many riders actually enjoy this visceral connection to the machine. Honda's engineers eliminated the vibration through sophisticated engine mounting systems and frame design. The result was smoother than most custom builders could achieve with unlimited budgets. The contradiction was becoming clear. Every problem Honda solved made the Fury less authentic as a chopper. Their engineering excellence was working against their cultural goals. When Honda unveiled the Fury at motorcycle shows, the initial reaction was stunned silence. They had created something unprecedented, a chopper that looked more chopper-like than most actual choppers. The Fury was visually aggressive to an almost cartoonish degree. The massive rear tire dominated the profile like a steamroller wheel. The stretched frame and low-slung seat created the classic chopper silhouette that had been popular in movies and TV shows. Most impressively, Honda had solved one of custom building's biggest challenges, creating clean, flowing lines without visible wiring or mechanical clutter. Real choppers often look unfinished because builders struggle to hide all the electrical components and control cables. Honda's production techniques allowed them to route wiring through the frame tubes themselves and integrate all the mechanical components into seamless bodywork. The results looked like a motorcycle designed by a sculptor rather than an engineer. From a visual standpoint, the Fury was flawless. Honda had created a chopper that looked better than most customs, costing 3 times as much. But that perfection was exactly the problem. Real choppers are supposed to show their construction, the welds, the modifications, the creative problem solving. The rough around the edges aesthetic is part of what makes them authentic. A chopper is supposed to look like it was built by someone with more passion than budget. The Fury looked like it was designed by a computer and built by robots. Because it was. Every surface was perfectly smooth. Every line flowed seamlessly into the next. There were no visible signs of the creative struggle that defines custom motorcycle culture. Honda had achieved chopper perfection, which made it completely inauthentic as a chopper. The reaction from the custom motorcycle community was swift and merciless. Within days of the Fury's debut, online forums exploded with criticism that went far beyond typical motorcycle rivalries. Custom builders saw the Fury as an existential threat to their entire culture. For decades, they had built their businesses and identities around the idea that authentic motorcycles required individual craftsmanship, personal vision, and acceptance of mechanical compromises in pursuit of artistic goals. Honda's message was different. Why accept compromises when perfection is available? Why deal with reliability issues when you could have Honda engineering? Why pay $50,000 for a custom when you could get better performance for $15,000? The custom community's response was to attack everything the Fury represented. They dismissed it as a poser bike for people who wanted to look tough without earning the right through mechanical knowledge and riding skill. But the criticism revealed deeper cultural anxieties about what was happening to American motorcycle culture. Custom builders weren't just attacking Honda, they were defending a way of life they saw under siege. The traditional path to chopper ownership required commitment that went far beyond money. Prospective owners had to research builders, wait months or years for completion, and accept that their finished motorcycle might require an ongoing relationship with the craftsman who built it. Many custom choppers needed regular adjustments, tune-ups, and modifications. This created an ongoing connection between builder and owner that was part of the culture. When something went wrong, you didn't take your bike to the nearest dealer, you called the person who built it and discussed what might be happening. This system created communities built around shared knowledge, mutual respect, and acceptance that great motorcycles required great effort to maintain. Custom chopper owners took pride in understanding their machines intimately and being able to diagnose problems that would baffle casual riders. The Fury threatened to eliminate this entire ecosystem. Instead of developing relationships with custom builders, customers would deal with corporate dealers. Instead of learning mechanical skills, they would rely on factory warranties. Instead of earning acceptance through dedication and knowledge, they would simply purchase the appearance of rebellion. To custom builders, this was not progress. It was the destruction of everything that made chopper culture meaningful. They were watching their handcrafted, relationship-based industry being replaced by mass production and corporate efficiency. The criticism went deeper than aesthetics or engineering. Custom motorcycle culture is being built around the idea that riding should be challenging, even dangerous. The stretched frames, rigid suspensions, and aggressive riding positions of traditional choppers make them physically demanding to ride. The Fury eliminated these challenges through sophisticated engineering. Its suspension provided comfort without sacrificing visual impact. The riding position looked aggressive but was ergonomically designed for long-distance comfort. To custom builders, this wasn't improvement, it was missing the point entirely. The physical challenges of riding a real chopper were seen as essential to the authentic experience. If anyone could climb on and ride comfortably, where was the accomplishment? Honda had committed the ultimate cultural sin. They had made something exclusive into something accessible, something difficult into something easy. By 2011, the Fury had achieved something unique in motorcycle history. It was more criticized for its strengths than its weaknesses. Traditional motorcycle reviews focus on performance problems, reliability issues, or design flaws. The Fury faced the opposite criticism. It worked too well, looked too perfect, and made chopper ownership too easy. The bike started every time you pressed the button. It ran smoothly at all speeds. It handled predictably and stopped reliably. For Honda, these were design achievements. For chopper purists, they were evidence that the Fury wasn't a real motorcycle. Real choppers demanded a relationship between rider and machine based on understanding and compromise. You had to learn their moods, develop mechanical intuition, and accept that your bike might leave you stranded if you didn't treat it right. This created a culture where mechanical knowledge and problem-solving skills were badges of honor. Chopper riders took pride in being able to diagnose engine problems by sound, perform roadside repairs with improvised tools, and coax temperamental machines into cooperation. Fury owners needed none of this knowledge. The bike required nothing more than scheduled maintenance and gasoline. In the custom community, the reliability wasn't seen as a feature, it was seen as evidence that Fury riders weren't real motorcyclists. The cultural divide was complete. Honda had built a chopper for people who didn't understand why anyone would want a difficult motorcycle. The chopper community wanted nothing to do with people who chose convenience over authenticity. Honda's market research had convinced them that millions of riders wanted chopper looks without chopper problems. The theory seemed sound, offered the visual impact of a custom motorcycle with the reliability of a Honda. But Honda had misunderstood their target audience on multiple levels. The riders who wanted chopper looks but couldn't handle chopper problems were the same riders that the chopper community actively rejected. The market research had been conducted during the peak of chopper television popularity, when survey respondents were expressing aspirational desires rather than actual purchasing intentions. It's the same phenomenon that affects luxury car surveys. Everyone says they want a Ferrari until they have to write the check and deal with the maintenance costs. Honda's focus groups had asked the wrong questions. Instead of asking whether people wanted a reliable chopper, they should have asked whether people would still want a chopper if it was reliable. The distinction might seem subtle, but it was culturally crucial. The chopper boom had been driven by television fantasy more than practical desire. Viewers watched American Chopper and imagined themselves owning dramatic custom motorcycles, but they hadn't considered the reality of chopper ownership, the maintenance demands, the riding discomfort, the social commitment to a demanding subculture. When Honda offered them an easy path to chopper ownership, many discovered that they didn't actually want choppers, they wanted the idea of choppers. The Fury gave them access to the aesthetic without the culture, but the aesthetic alone wasn't compelling enough to sustain interest. Real chopper enthusiasts didn't want their problems solved, they wanted their problems respected. The mechanical challenges weren't bugs in the system, they were features that separated true believers from casual participants. Meanwhile, mainstream motorcycle riders had no interest in chopper aesthetics. They preferred the comfort of touring bikes, the performance of sports bikes, or the heritage appeal of traditional cruisers. The Fury found itself appealing to a narrow demographic that barely existed. Riders who wanted to look rebellious but didn't want to deal with actual rebellion. This created a unique form of market isolation. The bike was too radical for conservative riders and too mainstream for radical riders. It satisfied nobody completely while disappointing two different groups for opposite reasons. Honda had created an orphan motorcycle, technically excellent, but culturally homeless. Honda never announced the end of Fury production. The bike simply disappeared from dealer showrooms as quietly as it had arrived. Production ending in 2014 after just 6 years. Total sales numbers were never officially released, but industry estimates suggest fewer than 15,000 Furies were built. For a company that typically measured success in hundreds of thousands of units, these were disappointing numbers. The Fury hadn't failed because of mechanical problems, safety recalls, or regulatory issues. It had been killed by cultural rejection. Perhaps the only motorcycle in history to die from being too good at its intended job. Today, used Furies sell for stable prices to riders who appreciate Honda's engineering achievement and don't care about cultural authenticity debates. Many owners report genuine satisfaction with their bikes and puzzlement over the original controversy. The Fury's legacy in motorcycle design extends beyond its sales numbers. It proved that technical excellence and cultural authenticity could be mutually exclusive, that solving engineering problems could create cultural problems. Modern Honda designers still reference the Fury as a cautionary tale about the limits of rational design in markets driven by emotion and identity. But here's the twist ending. A new generation of riders discovering used Furies today see them differently. Without the baggage of the original chopper wars, they appreciate the Fury for what it always was, a bold design experiment that successfully accomplished its engineering goals, even if it missed its cultural targets. The Honda Fury story isn't really about motorcycles, it's about the impossible challenge of manufacturing authenticity. Honda built exactly what they promised, a chopper that worked better than any chopper had a right to work. They just didn't understand that working perfectly might be the most unchopper-like thing a chopper could do. The motorcycle world learned that some things can't be mass-produced, no matter how superior the engineering. Rebellion, authenticity, and cultural credibility resist assembly line logic, even when the assembly line produces objectively better results. Honda's engineers solved every technical problem associated with chopper ownership, but in doing so, they eliminated the struggles that made chopper ownership meaningful to the people they were trying to reach. The Fury remains a fascinating example of corporate ambition meeting cultural reality, and losing, despite being technically superior in every measurable way. The Honda Fury died because it was too perfect for a culture that valued beautiful imperfection. Honda gave chopper enthusiasts everything they said they wanted, except the one thing they actually needed, something to struggle against. Would you have bought a Fury when it was new, knowing the motorcycle community would judge you for choosing convenience over authenticity? Or do you think Honda was right to solve problems that other manufacturers just accepted? Let us know in the comments, and if you want more stories about motorcycles that challenged everything we thought we knew about rider culture, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell.